Oh yeah, I'm going to make this as quick as possible and as clear as possible. There's nothing worse than a rambling tutorial and an unclear one. So here I have a plane in, subdividing it, and I'm going to add a texture to it. Once that's done, then I'm going to grab a tire here, and that'll be then the basis of the animation and the displacement onto the plane. Now that we have our plane and our tire, I'm going to just add some displacement. You can see here it's displaced. I'm just going to add a few more subdivisions, and I'm just going to lower the scale of that down. Now we can open up a geometry node editor then, and I just drag the object in, which is the tire, and I'm going to put that up against the raycast geometry node, and bring in the simulation zone. Okay. And then we're going to put that against the set position. This is going to set the geometry on that mesh to be displaced by the tire. And then we need to set our object info to relative. We'll also need to put our hit position into the set position node from the raycast. And then we need to add a named attribute. Give it a mat node, which is add. And then we need a store named attribute, so we can call this again, and we'll call it again in the shader editor shortly. And we'll rename it and call it hit. And we can see now that the displacement is working and the raycast is doing what it needs to do. It's displacing the mesh nicely there. And a quick keyframe setup with the tire going across the mesh. You can see the dent it leaves in it, and with that dent in there, we're going to apply a new texture to kind of give it a more wet look. We'll see how this is done here. So this is the shader editor part. What we need to do is add a mix shader here, and okay, and we're going to copy this principal BSDF, and we can see now that there's going to be two textures, and the factor that's going to differentiate them, like a mask, will be our attribute. So we added a named attribute there, and we can see the difference then with the two textures. And you can see here I'm just going to put in the correct color into the principal BSDF, and I'll probably just swap these out here. I have the indentation a little bit wetter than the mud itself, and then I'm changing the roughness to give it a wetter or drier look, whatever suits the render or the animation. I'll also add a blur attribute node to kind of smoothen the edges where the mesh is indented in, and it'll look a bit cleaner. We'll just go through that next. I've set the tire a little bit deeper so we can get a full picture of the mesh displacement. You can see a lot of details there. I'm going to add the blur attribute now. So first of all, we need to search it for a position node, plug that into the blur attribute, and then we're going to look for smooth that up a bit, set position, and plug that into our geometry output, change the value into position, and then I'll change the iterations here, and you can see it's smoothing out. And a bit of a payoff is we lose the details, but it softens the edges where the tire contacts the mud itself. And you can change the value as you choose. You can have none, or you can have some. I'm just going to show all the nodes used to get this effect. It's quite straightforward. I've seen tutorials in the past where there's a lot more nodes you can add to get more effects. This is kind of just a basic one. This will get you past if you just want some sort of car animation going through mud, etc. They're all the nodes that you will need. I just have a bit of a close-up on them. I hope that's enough for you guys. Cheers.